Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sports Fall. Jersey Joe Archino back here. And I think after last night, it's time we sit down, we have an honest conversation, and we reevaluate things because obviously, with the Cleveland Cavaliers coming off of their NBA title and doing something we've never seen before, I think it's finally time we visit that conversation. And the conversation is LeBron James the greatest basketball player in NBA history? And in many people's minds, they will never ever dethrone Michael Jordan as the greatest player of all time. And that's okay. Those are the people that they have their minds made up. It's a very difficult conversation and argument to make to dethrone him because of the success that he had, the impact that he made, and the pure domination for the period that he had. Michael Jordan has his own story. It's unique to him. His path is something that only he had to go through. But LeBron James has a very different path, and it's more different than anyone else in NBA history. And I think I'm going to throw a lot of numbers at you today, but I think all of them kind of build the formula and show that the argument that could be made that in his own unique way, LeBron James is the greatest of all time. Now, that is what I'm going to be arguing. Again, if you say Michael Jordan's the greatest of all time, that's okay because his story is his own. But you can't for a minute dispute that LeBron James has done something that no other player in the league has ever done or ever will do. He's been put in situations and overcome situations that no other player has ever overcome. Now, the first thing I want to throw out right at you is right here. The times that a player in the NBA Finals has averaged 30 points, 10 rebounds per game, and 8 assists per game in the finals. LeBron James has done that twice. The rest of NBA history has done it 0 times. You continue to go down the list. One of the ones that I think initially jumped out at everybody was LeBron led both teams in the finals in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. And again, that shows you there. And then there, of course, is the little matter of the Cavs being the first team in NBA history to overcome a 3-1 deficit and to come back and win the title. All of these things build and are just a direct representation of his greatness. Now, people are always going to try to come up with something to separate the two of them, but Jordan and LeBron, you have to look at it. It's first and foremost is how they ended up where they ended up. LeBron James inherits the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's drafted into a situation. He's the hometown boy. Tremendous pressure on him. But what he did to elevate a franchise that didn't have a symbol of winning, was not built on anything, didn't have stability in the front office, didn't have stability in where across the entire organization, and he carried them as far as one player ever could. I think you go to Michael Jordan, on the other hand, he did inherit a team that had not won to that point. But he did inherit more stability. He inherited people who knew what they were doing. He got Phil Jackson. He got a guy like a Scottie Pippen. He had these resources that LeBron just did not have available to him at the same time. And people are still going to argue. I think the conversation, of course, has to stick to Jordan and LeBron and Magic. People are maybe going to make an argument about it, but even Magic is so easy. Magic inherited the Lakers, the golden ticket of the NBA at the time. He had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He had James Worthy. He had studs of players and scores of talent around him. Again, this doesn't diminish anything that it did. That doesn't diminish his value and his impact on the game and everything that he accomplished. But you have to look at it in the grand scheme of things. You have to look at it in the way that the hand that we are dealt and how we respond and play that hand. Jordan received a certain hand. He played it out, and it was certainly better than many others were. But LeBron got the worst hand anyone could have ever been inherited. He inherited pressure no one has ever gotten before, because to be drafted by your hometown team, that carries with it so much pressure. When you put the economic impact that he meant to that team and everything that he was expected to do without help, that's the biggest thing that I think defines LeBron. It's overcoming without having that help. And we saw when LeBron finally did win his first title in Miami, what did he have? he got some help. Shane Battier gave him some help. Norris Cole gave him some help. He had some veterans like Mike Miller give him some help. And that was the same case here. Was LeBron the main driving force behind this title? Absolutely he was. But did he get some help along the way as well? There's no question about it. Kyrie Irving, I still contend, even with Dwayne Wade, is the best teammate that LeBron ever had. I think even Wade, he made a tremendous impact. LeBron can't win those titles without him. But Wade lacked that versatility that Kyrie Irving has. You go back to that three-pointer in that game where really that three-pointer sealed the win for the Cavs by Kyrie. Dwayne Wade doesn't make those shots. Dwayne Wade doesn't have that offensive versatility that Kyrie has. Now, when they're attacking the basket, they're very similar players, but even Kyrie, just the way that he initiates the game, the way that he makes an impact on both sides of the ball. I mean, you look at the way that the Cavaliers won this. Kevin Love gave him some help last night. Tristan Thompson was huge on the boards. J.R. Smith hit some big shots. But it's all the two of them. It really was Kyrie and LeBron James, and it was just LeBron James being greatness. But again, we go back to the conversation, is LeBron James the greatest player of all time? And I think you have to make the argument that in his own unique way, he is, because it is so different trying to compare the situation that LeBron has and has overcome and the situation that Jordan has. I think you look at it and you realistically can say that no other player in NBA history has been asked to do more on a game-in, game-out basis than LeBron James. And I think I give Isaiah Thomas a lot of credit for saying that last night, because even he was saying, Jordan just had to go out there, and Jordan was a tremendous defender, always gave tremendous effort defensively. He was the defensive player of the year for that reason in his career. But Jordan had to take care of the points, and if Jordan was able to go out there and take care of his offensive game, everything else was going to take care of himself, because you look at his first three-peat and you look at his second three-peat, the balance on those Bulls teams was perfect, and it's the reason that they were still viable and in a position to make the playoffs when Jordan left to pursue baseball. They still were a playoff contending team that was able to do tremendous things, because that roster was so talented and deep with talent. You had the first go around, you had a guy like Horace Grant, you had Scottie Pippen, you had shooters like Paxson, so much depth, and then of course you had a head coach who was the greatest head coach of all time in Phil Jackson. The second championships run where they won another 3, it's the same thing. You have a guy like Dennis Rodman. You had the best player in Europe come over in Tony Kukoc. You had all this talent there, depth across every level, and I think that is as big a part of it as anything. And we see LeBron, he's gone to 6 consecutive finals. He's been to 7. He reached a finals before Jordan ever did in his age, in his career. And I think you look at it and you have to say, could Jordan have done as many things and been asked to do as many things as LeBron did? And it's just not possible, because from a physical standpoint, LeBron is the most physically gifted player we've ever seen since Wilt Chamberlain. There's not another player who's had the makeup that he has, where he could be asked to go out there and guard any position of player, or go out there and grab the rebounds, be the guy leading the team from an assist standpoint. Anything you ask him to do on the floor at a given time, he can do. He hasn't always been the most reliable player shooting from around the perimeter, but he certainly has done a better job improving on that regard in his career. And there's no question that he's the most versatile player in NBA history. And I think more than anything, no one has ever been asked to do more on a game-in, game-out basis than LeBron James. But numbers mean a lot to people, and people will always hold the 6 rings above anything else that Jordan was able to do, and the fact that he never lost. But I think we've kind of seen, and we're such an NFL-based culture now, and we look at somebody like Peyton Manning and the losses he endured, the winning he endured as well, but it's a different story, because when you're LeBron James, and the mere fact that he's able to constantly take these teams there, if you play badly, that's one thing. And then in 2011 NBA Finals, I think that's the one knock you can put on LeBron. He did not play well in that series. That's the only time I think you do. 2007, that's the worst roster in finals history that he took on his back and he brought there. And they got swept, but he brought them there on his back. Last season when they lost, well, what we saw LeBron do, that was just heroic. That was a Superman performance on a game in, game out basis. I mean, you look at it now this season with the, I mean, it's amazing when you look at that team and the options that they have now compared to last year. I mean, and many times Matthew Dellavedova was his next best option last season, and that right there just goes there to show you. But I think you look at all of this, the conversations that we're going to be having, that we'll be continued to be having, and I think you have to make the argument that in his own unique way, and again I use that word unique because that is the thing that does separate LeBron from everyone else, that he is the greatest player in NBA history. And it's one of those things where we all know greatness when we see it, and we certainly haven't all appreciated LeBron's greatness in the same way because we all kind of like to go back, and that's one of the things that, again, I'll keep going back to that word unique. The criticism LeBron has endured is unique. No one has ever been scrutinized the way that he did. The media swept up all the controversy that there ever would have been strewed about Michael Jordan because he was the golden boy of that time. And that's why this argument of trying to argue that LeBron is the greatest of all time is going to be so difficult because it's so firmly implanted in people's minds that Jordan could never fail. Jordan could never do any wrong. And while, there is one of those regards where the winning is hard to argue with, there was controversy. There was things. He wasn't the perfect teammate. And sometimes when you just go beyond winning and the way that LeBron has been able to connect with players, the way he's never had a real controversy with teammates, even Kevin Love we look at, and LeBron would go after Kevin Love. LeBron would criticize Kevin Love. LeBron would yell at Kevin Love on the court. But that respect never left. And I think even with Jordan sometimes with the teammates, they always knew that he was the man and they would get behind him. But I think sometimes that there was a little bit of relationships that were fractured because of the way that super ego worked for Jordan. And that same ego hasn't always worked the same way with LeBron James. And I think the case in point is Kevin Love. One of the first posts he makes last night is all about LeBron James. And again, for a guy like Kevin Love, who was so heavily criticized during this playoff run, and even physically and visibly yelled at by LeBron on the court, still maintaining that respect just shows why LeBron is who he is, and it comes back to that uniqueness about him, his unique traits as a leader, and just his uniqueness as a basketball player. He has something no one else has ever had or no one else ever will have. And I think if you're trying to make the argument that he's the greatest of all time, the wins alone are something that you can't just look at. You have to look at the total package. And if you want to compare it in terms of doing things no one else has done, there's plenty of those things to look at for LeBron. And to me, one of the things that carries the greatest weight is the fact that he won titles with more than one organization. You go across the greatest players of all time, and there are a lot of them. You go and you look at Jordan, you look at Bird, you look at Magic, you look at a guy like Kareem. Kareem is really one of the only exceptions where he did win titles with multiple franchises. He won it early in his career with the Bucks, and he won 5 more with the Lakers. But then you look at LeBron and this criticism and the immense pressure he had to come back and win with Cleveland, and the fact that he did bring them to a finals earlier in his career. Then he goes to Miami, he wins, and he wins now again. Now he finally does it with Cleveland. That right there says it all. And I think you will continue to look at this story, this continuing legacy. It's still not over yet. It's still not out of the realm of possibility to say that he will not only be a winner with more than one franchise, but he'll be a multiple winner with more than one franchise. And I think that right there would really advance the argument even further. But if you want to make the case that he's the greatest player in his own unique way, I would support it every single day of the week, and I think you have enough evidence and enough backbone and enough proof now the numbers now to finally argue that he's the greatest player of all time. And again, for the people who never will dethrone Jordan, that's okay because he had his story. LeBron has his. It's unique to him. It's something no one else will ever have. But until the next time, Jersey Joe Archino here with the Sports Ball. You can follow me on Twitter at Joe Archino and on Instagram, Jersey_Joe_Archino. And I'll see everybody next time.